Welcome to the Preschool All Stars podcast. I'm your host, Joy Anderson, and with us today is an amazing preschool all star, Karisa Day. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. It's been a while since we've chatted.
I love it. I can't wait to hear all about like what's been going on. So let's go back to the way back. What was life like before you came into our world?
So I am a certified teacher and I worked in a school district that was like 40 miles away from home. So I would get up at 5:30, leave the house at 6:30, and I'd get home about 6:30 after, driving and picking up my son from daycare. So I was literally gone for 12 hours a day. Um, and then I had a young baby. When I opened my preschool, he was 2. So it was hard being away for 12 hours. And I was a new teacher as well. So that was a struggle. And
Yeah.
I worked for a district that didn't provide you curriculum. So when you're starting as a new teacher, that's a real struggle.
Yeah.
When they're like, here's your classroom, just teach the standards. So I had a lot of growth to learn, but not a lot of support. So
Right.
when my last straw was my last year out there, the day before teachers go back, they told me the math teacher in the middle school quit, and they were going to move me. And it wasn't a choice. I was the only one qualified, and school
Wow.
started the next day. So I moved, and it was the worst year of my life. People
Wow.
who teach middle school are special people, and I am not that person. Um, so that was my like way of, okay, I got to get out.
Mhm.
And I couldn't find a teaching job in my district, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna stay home and be with my baby. But I obviously just couldn't like stop working. We're a dual income household, so I couldn't
Right.
just stop. So I was like, I'll start a daycare, and I'll add like the preschool element to it, like
Yeah.
those daycare slash preschool, because
Yeah.
I'm a teacher and I went to school for that, and that's what I love doing.
Yeah.
So then in that scope of trying to figure out how do you combine a preschool and a daycare, somehow
Mhm.
I found you on Pinterest. Seriously, like found you on Pinterest, and I was like, there's somebody that teaches people to open a preschool. Like, tell me that was not made for me. Like, so I decided to go that route because
Yeah.
opening a daycare is just putting the same problem that I already had about working 12 hours a day,
Yeah.
not being with my family, but now I'm bringing it into my home. So I
Right.
felt like I was just transferring that problem closer.
Mm.
So I didn't think that that would help. So starting a preschool was going to work better.
Yeah.
And here we are 6 years later.
That's and so 6 years. So what
Yep.
year, uh, was it 2019, 2018?
2018. Yeah.
Okay. Do math on live. Um, Math teacher, right?
Right. Right.
Anywho, okay, so yeah, so that was right before I didn't even write the book yet. So this was like my old whatever random marketing was ever out there before.
I have the DVDs. I have the old school, like OG preschool.
Oh my gosh. I have them too. I saved every product I've ever made, and they're in some box, I
Oh
can
my
never play them,
gosh.
but that's
And
awesome.
yeah, anytime I look back at him, I'm like, Joy was just a baby when
I
she
know,
made these videos. Oh my gosh.
I call myself Baby Joy from back in the day. Anywho, okay, so you got preschool in a box, right? Got preschool in a
Did.
box,
Mhm.
and then tell us, like, how did your preschool start evolving? Like, tell us about that first year, how many students, things like that.
Um, so the first year was a little tricky because I didn't know where to find kids. I tried everything that you said. My son was in like gymnastics and things like that, so I advertised there.
Yeah.
I definitely hit like Facebook and my friends initially.
Mhm. Right.
I think my first couple kids were some of my friends' kids. I
Yeah.
only had, I think maybe 9. I think I had 9 kids my first
Yeah.
year, and 3 of them were like friends' kids, and one
Right.
was my nephew, and one was my own kid. So
So,
I
and
didn't.
real quick, you're
I
talking about, marketing and from the Preschool in a Box marketing from 2018, that was literally only my marketing knowledge in
Right.
there that was worked for, like, my preschool, and hopefully it would work for others. But then when we jumped into All Stars, that's when all the All Stars started, like,
Hmm.
and we had, like, up the marketing game. We're like, "Okay, how's this gonna work for thousands?" So, okay, so good. So, it was a little bit difficult in
Yeah.
2018. Okay, continue.
Yep. And I really do think like once you get the ball rolling and people start talking, like that is your best marketing is
Oh,
just people talking to other
yeah.
moms. Moms talking to moms at the library, at the park. Like I've
Yep.
gotten so many referrals just from moms talking to each other. So
Right.
I think the first year is kind of tricky, but just because you don't have any of that background of people like knowing you and how you run and how much they loved you. So that after that first year, things start rolling, and you usually get kids, they come back. And then you
Mhm.
get their siblings, and then you get
Yeah.
their cousins, and then you get, whoever.
Yeah.
So it's like that first year, it's like once you get through that first year and people just start knowing you and you learn, there's so much to learn.
Yeah.
Then it just becomes easier every year. Like this year, it's April. I'm full and have a wait list, and I haven't done any marketing, anything.
That's
So it's
awesome.
like it kind of it'll fill itself, but you kind of have to put that work in it the first year or two.
Yeah. Well, and what's so interesting is, like, that first year, you're like, "Oh, I only had 9 students and stuff," but, like, if you had given up, right, you would never have what you have currently built, but it's
Right.
because that person who only had 9 students was able to get each one and kept going that you ever have what you have now.
Right.
So
And I was pregnant my first year as well.
wow.
And
Yeah.
so my second year, I had a newborn, like hanging out in his bouncer in my classroom, and it was fine. Yeah.
See, that a lot of women say, like, "Hey, can I have, like, what if I get pregnant, or what I am pregnant, or what about, like, a newborn baby and such?" Like, so how did you work that out?
It's like I said, I would have, so when obviously when they're newborns, I just had them nap, usually like that at the end of the first class.
Right.
And then they would usually nap at the end of the second class. So they
Mm.
were really only in here for maybe an hour. And like
Yeah.
I said, it was like he'd be hanging out at his bouncer, or he'd be having
Yeah.
tummy time, or I'd be carrying him around. I only had like 4 kids per class. So it was super
Right.
small and very easy. And I had my 3-year-old too. So
Yeah.
he was helpful in that. So it worked for us. It was fine.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
as your preschool evolved, you also added a private kinder. I know you're not doing that right now, but you did add private kinder. Can you talk about
I
why you
did.
did it and maybe why you've changed out of it?
Yes. So when COVID hit, we all went online. So COVID hit in spring, and I figured out with you how to convert online during spring break. I was
Yeah.
like, okay. So we went online, and I made like to-go bags for kids, and the parents would come and take them home. We'd do things online, and it was fine. It was a
Yeah.
little chaotic for like the 2 and 3-year-old class, but we made it through. Um, and then we came back to school, and I had several parents that didn't want their 5-year-olds going to school when
Right.
the mandate was wearing masks for eight
Sure.
hours a day.
Yeah.
Um, so because I'm a certified teacher, I was like, well, I can probably have kindergarten, and
Yeah.
I loved the students that I had. I'd have them for 2 years already.
Right. Right.
So I was like, okay, well, I want it to be as normal of a kindergarten class as possible.
Mhm.
And at that time, it was only half day. So I figured if I just extended the afternoon class from a 2.5 hour preschool class to a 3 hour kindergarten class, and
Okay.
then I just did it every day, then that would feel like a
Yeah.
normal kindergarten class.
Right.
So
Right.
that's what I did. And I had 5 kids in that class.
Mhm.
um, and then I also was able to like bypass the age requirement with them being
Right.
5 at September 1st.
Yeah.
That didn't matter. Um, and it was awesome. Like it was so much fun to teach them because they're just more capable and they have more stamina.
Right.
And so I did preschool, like little ones, Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, and then I did like older ones Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings, and then I did
Right.
kindergarten in the afternoons.
Yeah.
But then the next year, those same parents didn't want their kids to go again. So I had a kinder slash first even.
Did you?
I did. I had one student who was here by the time she was 2 until she was 7. I
Okay.
had a student here, and she did the online and everything. I had her forever. I was like, okay, first grade is it. You gotta go. You gotta go. Um, so then I guess it was 23, the year of 23.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of mid-year kids, like January, February. So none
Mhm.
of them would be moving up to kinder. So there wasn't a need for it.
Got it.
And at that point, I was feeling a little burnt
Yeah.
because I was making, creating, and teaching. It's just me. So I was doing preschool, pre-K, kinder, and first.
Oh gosh.
And it was a lot because I felt like
Right.
with the kinder and first, I really wanted to make sure that they were meeting the content standards and the
Right,
state
right.
standards, and they had
Yep.
all the testing so that when they went to a normal school, they would have all of the information they need
Yeah.
on how their kids were doing.
Right.
Um, so it was a little overwhelming. So it was nice going back to like, okay, we're just doing preschool and pre-K.
Right.
So that made my life a little bit easier because then I could teach the same thing in both preschool classes and I could teach the
Yeah.
same thing in both pre-K. So yes,
Right.
it's been a lot less stressful to
Good.
take this away. Mhm.
Right. And so is this school year is the first one without kinder?
Second.
Second. Okay, nice.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay.
That's awesome.
So talk about if you I mean, I don't know if you're comfortable sharing the tuition numbers you've been able to reach, or maybe we'll keep that inside of Preschool All Stars.
No, it's fine. Let's see. When I started, I think I modeled like what you said.
Yeah.
It was 125, and every 2 years I've gone up like $20 or 25,
Yeah.
just to kind of, I felt like that was the easiest and it didn't feel like a lot to them, but to me
Right.
it's a lot,
Oh
$20
yeah.
times 24 kids, that's a
Yeah.
lot.
Right.
So every 2 years. So this next year will be my next raise because I don't think I raised my prices for like the first 3 years. I don't think I
Yeah.
raised them until we had that in-person meeting and you were like, what are you doing? It make your numbers go higher because I only had 4 kids and you're like, go to 6
What are
and
you
raise your
doing?
tuition. Yeah, all these things. And so then that next year I was like, I'm doing it.
Right.
Um, and I also haven't even, this next year will be the first time I've raised my registration fee. It's been 60
Wow.
the whole time. And I'm like,
Right.
the cost of things, like,
Right. Right.
so anyways, I raised my registration fee to 80.
Yeah.
It was 100 with kinder. So if
Yeah.
there's year more, obviously you charge more. And then my tuition for 2 days a week will be 180 next
Mhm.
year. And for 3 days a week will be 230. But
Awesome.
but the 3 day a week is a little weird because we go every other Friday because one
Right.
Friday a month we go on a field trip. So they're
That's
not
cool.
technically here, but we're
Yeah.
together.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you have 24 students, you have the same kind of model, still 2.5 hours in morning and afternoon now that we're back to preschool, pre-K?
Yep.
Okay, got it. Holidays off, summers off, coverage, all that
I
stuff.
do a 2 week summer camp.
Summer camp, yeah.
And it's just in July. And it's
Right.
super easy, super fun, and just,
Yeah.
extra income when, you're in the middle of summer.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and I love too, like every year builds on its own, right? And I love how you talked about, word of mouth marketing is the absolute best that you've done. So therefore you're not even marketing, you're just already full.
Right.
But so important for everyone to realize like the first year is not going to look like possible. It's some for you, for some it might, but majority, it's not going to look like the gangbuster year where it's like every class is full tuition, like everything's just rolling, but it builds on each
Mhm.
other. Yeah,
I
that's
think
awesome.
parents just are a little hesitant, if you don't have a lot of people talking about it or they don't see it a lot
Mm,
or
right.
I try to look at it through if I was a parent looking around I would want a preschool that's well known and talked about and things like that and I've
Right.
heard of it. I think that makes people feel more comfortable, so once I think that first year under your belt it just starts happening because people
Yeah,
don't realize how amazing you are until somebody else is talking about it. Like I have
totally.
a student coming from Illinois next year and I don't know how she found me. They're like, "Oh, we're moving. We found you." Oh, cool. I think somebody told them. She's like, "I think
Sure.
my cousin or something." I was like,
Right.
"So like I live in Idaho and somebody's coming from Illinois. It's pretty cool."
That is awesome. No, congratulations. So if anybody was on the fence about joining Preschool All Stars, what would you say to her?
Just if you if this is your dream, then just do it because the step by step is so much easier than just struggling to do it yourself.
Mhm.
Because I had never even started a business, much less a preschool. Like I'm a teacher, but I've never taught preschool and I've never
Right.
opened a business. I think the business part was the scariest for me and all the, state licensing and all that I did. I didn't know. I had no
Mhm.
idea what I didn't know. So having your step by step and like all the forms and the do this first, then this, it was like so helpful. And like the website, oh my gosh, that's my favorite thing because I know nothing about how to build a website. Like there's no
Right.
way I could have done something like that. Um, and it's so easy. It's wonderful. And I think having the support of all of the sisters um, is very helpful because, like you may even have people in your life that they can't help you because they've never done it either. But there are several people in this group who have been where you've been. We
Yeah.
all started, we all struggled, we made it through, and now several of us are, you know, really successful. So I think it's nice to see, where you can start and where you can get to if you have that support. So I think that's the biggest thing with the sisters is just having that support and having the resources as a big help.
Yeah, I love that. And last thing, looking back on your journey from the 12 hours a day working at the district, right? Driving there, picking your kids up from daycare, things like that, right? And becoming a math teacher, like literally having no say in what your job is until now. Like, what would you say? Like, how is your life better?
I got to be a mom.
Yeah.
I felt like it was just survival mode. Like what I was having to do, it was just, you know, wake up, do your job, bring it home, and just not even been able to be there for my kids
Right.
and my husband. And I was super stressed. And so if you're stressed and not taking care of yourself, then how can you take care of anybody else?
Yeah.
With this, it's like I can, take if I need a day, I don't need to call, a principal and have my shift covered. If my kid is sick, my
Yeah.
kid's sick and school's closed.
Right.
um, I feel like I can just be a better mom
Mm.
because I have the flexibility to do so.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. And for those of you who are listening, if you haven't joined Preschool All Stars yet, we'd love to serve you. Go to preschoolalstars.com so we can get you in the doors. All right, Carissa, it's been awesome talking to you, and I hope you have an awesome night.
Yeah, thanks, Joy. It was
All
good
right,
seeing you. Bye.
you too.